Hey you guys, it's MJ from I UNPLUG. How are you? I gotta say I'm doing a little bit less live just for me personally to stay focused and really enjoy this platform. And I do still want to go live. I just have to be very guided to it, very in the flow with it. So for now, I'll just continue to share most days and intuitively pick and choose when I do a proper live kind of Q&A session versus these intuitive sharings, which is really about the message, the all to love message, my own sharing, the journey of spiritual awakening with all of the cluster and chaos and confusing messages and information in the void, in the internet, right? And just in the world, and the conflicting ideologies and all of the construct and the I guess it's more just the construct of rightness and wrongness, and how the energy of how much we put that on each other, and then how for empaths, light workers, sensitive types, how increasingly uncomfortable that is to be put upon, to be dictated to be told what to do, to be told who we are. Like, hence, one of you recently, I watched one of your shares, and it was like, and I actually write about this in the book, that once we start to endeavor this sensitivity, the more sensitive we become, the more intensely we feel stuff. And even though it might be patterns we've carried or acted out most of our lives, once we go through the awakening, that same shit is more painful, but we're more aware, so we can work with it and shift it and play around with our perspective and energy around that. So I would say the most specific thing that I want to share, and it's actually one of the interviews in the Spirituality Simplified course, which, FYI, I have now completed. I have now completed all the video editing. There's 39, I believe, 39 videos in total, and a couple of them are like 35, 45-minute interviews. And in the interviews with scientists and pioneers and all of that kind of stuff, and I had to like edit around this because I made myself cringe while I was editing, but there's an interview with a science guy, and also he calls himself a natural philosopher, named Thomas J. Brown, and he spoke of like his inquiry over the years as a researcher and a philosopher, and was looking at how over the years, great thinkers, messengers, prophets, whether in religious institutions or scientific institutions or in academia, they were often killed. People with different ideas were often kind of stamped out of our history. And it's relevant because for a certain length of like a timeline, and when I was meditating on the sesh, it was like the majority of us would probably resonate with about 6 generations. Some of us less, some of us more. But as far as like carrying the baggage, carrying the systematized patterning of our ancestors, and how it's relevant to like what this interview is talking about, was basically like our entire constructed reality is based on false logic. So it's like based on logic that is an incomplete story. And actually, like, historically speaking, the witch hunts and like the denial of our femininity, which is, of course, and you can reflect that in the world, a denial of love and nurturing and connectivity and unity and oneness and creativity. We just like deny that, box ourselves into like the mechanistic, which is just the imbalanced or false logic world. And then you start to sort of unravel it, and it kind of all makes sense. It makes sense why the political system is failing us. It makes sense why the economy is imploding or exploding or crumbling from underneath itself, because it's all based on an illusion of falsity. It's based on our disconnection. It's based on our domination. It's based on, which all come from this false logic of there's only out there, there's no in here. This is just blood and flesh and bones. And that through that denial, over the generations, we've built up and pioneered and created this big wonderful world of progress, but all of that building's been done on this false logic. And so hence why some of us are awakening and going, whoa, whoa, where are we going? What is the rush? And hence why a lot of us actually sharing and producing work and creating stuff in terms of new paradigm, it's that, like, and it's amazing to me, all these years have gone by and it still comes back down to the same messaging of like, if people want some sense of sanity and well-being in their lives, then usually one of the first things I talk to clients about is like, how much rest are you actually getting? How much downtime are you getting? Do you remember how to play? And I know that might sound really foolish, but there is a lot of us as human adults who don't know how to play anymore. And in fact, we were just talking about this. One of us was or one of you guys, we were chatting about that, about like, it's really for serious, the spiritual adulty, and I'm like, no. We as humans, and there's a whole bunch of like different angles to look at this, but like, awakening and spiritual, it's not the wisdom that is serious, and thus we don't have to be serious. And I talk about this in the book. There's a difference between like seriousness and like somber. Like, it's good. Like, I see something like, sometimes you could see serious as like passion, dedication, diligence, like discipline, da da da. And that's like, and again, what I share in the book is like, let's be serious about our joy. Let's be serious about our upliftment, about our expansion. Like, how do we really get down with that, right? It's like holding ourselves responsible, reflecting back, having an open heart, attuning and listening and sharing. And yet, how have I gotten here? After having an awakening when I'm 19, like almost 20 years ago, just be like, yeah. And then yoga saving the life was that even after about like, I don't know, 6 years of like heavy duty, hardcore, rigid yoga and meditation practice, suddenly I'm like, I'm fucking exhausted. I need to sleep. And then suddenly I'm like, oh my God, relaxation, shavasana, rest in peace, die to the illusion. It suddenly all started to make sense. I'm like, oh my God, I'm still chasing my tail. I might be a yoga teacher, but I'm still in the system. So I'm just trying to like squeeze this expansive, unifying, beautiful practice into the system. Let's just squeeze our yoga in once a week and leave it there. And like in my heart, and based on all these different awakenings I had in like adolescence and young adulthood, and I'm like, well, this surely will not do. Like, teaching yoga personally was more empowering than being a choreographer or being an actor working in a fucking clothing store, like, so there were feeling of worthiness improvement in my life. And like, yeah, being a yoga teacher was better than that, but then I started to weed out the fucking distortions within the yoga industry, because anything beautiful or like expansive and spiritual that we try to debase it or squeeze it into this old paradigm, hence where we are here now is like this next level, like, whoa, like breaking free from that, linking arms in new ways of being, and then continuing to allow the external reality to guide us and manifest us. And this is where more so for me, it's that the oneness factor of creation allows us to perpetually be feedbacking off of reality, because we've already done the regenesis, is that atonement process, or I guess you could say the awakening transformation, is that now you're starting to feedback, you're sensitizing your beingness, you're practicing ownership, and yet that it will just keep hitting up against until this my experience here now is the 0 point, until there's like nothing left, until you're just you. And then oftentimes in the 0 point, I would say there's like a bottoming out of really, really, really like all the deepest, darkest, weirdest, like shame, darkness, persecution, everyone hates you, you're never gonna succeed, you're just gonna be emphatically failure the rest of your life, like all the deepest, darkest weights that we've carried all of our lives. In the 0 point, in the 0 points, like we have access to the highest joy and the lowest low. And then in that infinity symbol, as we rise ourselves up, we have to integrate all those polarities, and then keep choosing the, because in fairness as well, it's like I don't have to choose it. I've already surrendered, and I continually surrender my life to the divine, right? And it really is a mental, heartfelt surrender, because how could any of us figure it out? What's right and wrong for everybody else, and what's right and wrong for the earth? It would be incredibly arrogant of me to go around proclaiming like I know what's right for everybody, and that I even know what's right for the earth. What I do know is how I feel in feedback resonance with things. So like, it feels ick and pretty painful for me to see humans destroying the world. It's ick or hurtful in my heart to see humans just blindly consuming a bunch of shit that's destroying the planet and thus destroying us. So it's like this vicious cycling. When you can honor that, when you can see that, and then hold it as part of your unconscious, or Sasha used the word base tone projections, unresolved aspects, whether chosen consciously or unconsciously, we've still endeavored this soul's journeying path, right? So we really do pull all of it. And I know for me as a sharer empath, it's like, I am aware that whilst I processed some of my deepest, darkest stuff, it was in service. It was so that I could share the depth of pain, the depth of emotional healing that was required to keep rising, to keep moving, and to keep manifesting in more and more miraculous and wildly benevolent ways, right? And that this year is the claiming of that ultimately, right? The like, I'm here and I get it. And for me, meeting up with the New Earth people was just a huge, like, ready to take that next leap vibe, because it was like having valid, successful in physical worldly terms people who were pioneering and creating in the highest harmonic, and again, Sash uses the expression patterns of perfection, beauty, consciousness, and art. And then when I was editing the Thomas J. Brown video, I'm like, there it is. And then this is what I edited out, me going, what? And it was all something like, then it all made sense. Suddenly it made sense. Why didn't my intuitive awakened beingness res with academia? Because the entire academic institution is based on false logic, yo. Which means that literally every world, every nation that we see is creating a world based on this falsity. Which, as human beings, as unified human beings, this don't work for us. Certainly not if we want to be free. Certainly not if we just want to be able to frolic and be free on this lovely planet and be done with the system of control and domination, created out of our own disempowerment, and at the same time beings who choose to live on a certain frequency, which isn't a compassionate frequency. It's not an empathic frequency. In fact, these are entities and beings that feed off of our fear, basically. It's really weird. Feeding off of our own disempowerment, which we are that. As long as I stay in my fear, I feed those entities. As long as I stay in my disempowered state, I feed that disempowerment, which then projects itself outside of me, and comes back to get me as bad banking people or whatever, right? Of course, those things don't happen in my reality because the bank works for me, my friends. As does the economy, as does the political agenda. It all works in my favor. At the same time, because of my awareness, I just don't focus on that stuff. You know, I focus pretty much all day, every day on the tunnel vision creation of these new ways. And this is my experience ultimately, and why I continue to share, is that when I go out driving or when I'm out, I typically really see an awakened world, and a world of great beauty and promise. And then every once in a while there's a little bit of residue feedback, hence why I keep going, because I'm aware that this is, like for me and All to Love, it's like the long game. This isn't, and it always has been. My sense of drive and ambition has always been like a long game. I'm not somebody who's interested in like quick reward or quick fix, because I've been there, done that, tried it, don't work. As in, hence we leads us down this path, is like it's the Christ, it's the love, it's the divine, it's the juice, it's the Holy Spirit, it's the connection point, it's the feeling, it's the sensitivity. All of that is what makes life worth living, not money. you know, not a job. I'm like, that stuff is all superfluous to our existence. And once we really harmonize the dialogue and that kind of feeling connection, and this is where it comes from, yo, like pure love and acceptance for all of it. There is nothing sort of systematized or right or wrong about my life. I'm just a human, like sharing and reflecting and being and like, and all I do now more and more so is like feel and then navigate via that feeling. If something feels good, I'm going to keep moving in that direction. If something feels off, I'll let that connection go. I'll let that. Usually the offness is someone's lack of awareness and or denial, but kind of the same thing, right? Most of us, some of the hardest emotions for us to process are things like shame and guilt. So oftentimes I just find myself walking away because somebody doesn't want to shine light onto that. And it's not our job to do that for one another. Why? Because we have an infinite eternal cosmos here. At the same time, there's like certain aspects of creation that we've all, I want to say, like self-determined. Otherwise we wouldn't find each other and we wouldn't have internet and we wouldn't have these like portals of breakthrough that are happening everywhere around the globe. And like we just ding, as soon as that light bulb goes off, as soon as that awakening happens, think about it. They're one human awakening. It's like then I don't know, a few hundred or a few thousand around them awaken. Then those people awaken, and then a few hundred and a few thousand awaken. And the more as this, that's why we're seeing the deep state, the shining the light, the MK Ultra. We're seeing the shining the light of all of these corrupted, distorted aspects of control, domination. And then the flip around, of course, is our ownership of it, and then how we're guided. And that may be another piece for another share, but like everything I do with Ultra Love is intuitively guided. My whole life has been intuitively guided. There's like a whole bunch of like weird, like kind of wild, cool shit. I just don't feel guided to share it yet because it could you know, on a certain level it could destabilize people's perceptions, I guess. Not that that's it. I don't know, I can't explain it. I'm just not guided to share, but like from my point of view and a little bit of like the inner rebel in me, I'm like, it's fucking cool. You know, it's like badassery. Because it's true. And this is like literally when you're divinely guided, it's amazing how many like loopholes you can jump through or how many like normal systematized things don't apply to you because you're literally not vibing on that frequency. Even way back when I was studying at school, I've not blah 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 blah. If you guys have any questions, you can ask, but I'm gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna wrap it up because I've been rambling like a ramblesaurus. Dun, dun, dun. You guys, I did the final videos for Simplified Spirituality right here in this bed with this hat on. Actually, I put jeans on today, but like I had my gym jams on. So like the last two special tutorials, which came to me intuitively when I finished what I thought was the video, and then my intuition was like, yeah, it's on yet, girlfriend. And I was like, how wonderful to be able to kind of wrap up the course right here in my boudoir at this point in my life. So and also you guys, one, pre-orders thanks, but also like massive thanks to some of you that are just sending me the odd email or like we're, you know, having a few engagements. Like it might not seem like it, but that means a lot to me. Again, it's not like I'm not jesting when I'm saying there's a certain level of reclusivity here and it's cool. Like it's not like some complain or like woe is me vibe. It's more just like the legit truth. I have literally like two like besties and then like a third proper mate who I just know is there for me. But I probably only see him like once a month. And then the other like once a week. And so the rest of the time is just MJ with MJ. Hence why I have all this juice to share with you guys because I spend it. However, some of you guys might know that now that Ultra Love is expanding into internet land, there is great scope for me to do tours and tour around the United States and the UK. Obviously continue doing the online courses, but like as far as this YouTube channel goes, I'm proper visioning like traveling around and like doing live shares, but with some of all y'all. Just like a lot of my kooky ideas, things may or may not quite align, because I'm aware of this like divinity stuff and this co-creative stuff. Hence, the idea really of you know, oh yeah, by the way, side note, this is also what I picked out from the New Age to Jesus, and it's something I'm not going to talk a lot about, but and why it's a different thing. There's elements of destruction, but I don't really resonate with some of the language, but I do understand what these people are saying. I just never got into New Age as New Age. I didn't label it. I didn't necessarily know what that was, because to me New Age isn't new at all. It's meditation and crystals, and apparently this is the New Age. I'm like, but everything you're talking about is ancient human practices to stabilize us, balance us, and you know, help us be more powerful creators ultimately, right? But I also am, because I had my early awakenings, I was never somebody that hooked into law of attraction teaching so that I could like manifest the shit, even though I did. Like but understand we're always manifesting. So all of my spiritual work and actual like stuff is all messaging. It's mostly all driven from this, but it's like, guys, you want to change the world? And realizing that people dig in on the law of attraction stuff, but sometimes some practitioners are only interested of their own lives. So these New Age to Jesus speakers are testifying to the fact that even when it comes to law of attraction and manifesting our dreams, that's not the Christ necessarily. That is still a systematized false light self-absorption of look what I can do, i.e. egoic arrogance. There's a lot of that in our spiritual or conscious communities. It just literally, like, we go from systematized indoctrination and then, well, that's all fucked up and shitty, so let's go into spirituality, and then we just have the systematized indoctrination there. Oh, that's not, let's go, oh, well, I can just create my own world, fuck all, yo. Okay. But again, with me, the compassionate heart, and I'm like, okay, but there's still all of the stuff, these people who, if I can create my own reality, shouldn't we share that wisdom? Shouldn't we share that knowledge? It's not a new age, it's just the Christ. I'm like, it's more of us aligning with the fact that it's not about separation and saying that this man who lived 2,000 years ago, that we all have to follow him. We all have our own experience with Christ, with the energy of Christ, which is just the unified field of being a conscious chooser in union with the Creator. And that is here because the Creator is one with the totality, which means we're all one. And so I can't then be like, you're less than if you're not gonna follow Jesus Christ and speak the word of the Lord. We're all speaking the word, you know, but is the word connected to Christ and the altar of love? The Spirit, the Holy Spirit, which is really just another lingo for intuition. Be one with the inner teacher. Stop messing about with this idea of like, I'm gonna manifest da, 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 because I want to get ahead in the world. If anything, we want to like bow to the world, that world of fear, the world of separation, the world of greed and disconnection, and just bow to it and be thankful for the lessons, and then live in union with the self. Like, that's... Anyway, that's my 2 cents. I hope that was useful to you.